Hi, my name is Kylie Phoenix and I'm here to talk to you about grief and loss and how we deal with that in the Ho'oponopono course, in the Phoenix Healing Retreat and the healing therapy techniques that we do. Now, grief and loss, if you have experienced extreme grief and loss in your life, you'll notice, you may have noticed that it's very unpredictable. And just when you feel like you might have gotten through your grief, it seems to resurface and comes around for another round. Okay, and you seem to jump and switch between all of the different levels and all the different stages of grief and loss. It's not set in stone that you start at at the beginning, the denial spot, and then you get to the acceptance spot at the end. It doesn't seem to work like that. Okay, it is different for every human being, but the essential elements are always the same. The amount of time you spend in each element is very different for every person, and how much you jump and shift around is very different for every person. But essentially you are dealing with the same elements. And in Ho'oponopono, what you can do is you can actually focus on the elements and find out what the programs are behind that, so you can shift that grief a lot quicker. You can move through the grief a lot quicker and come out the other end and start to get on with your life after the loss. Now, the loss may not be the loss of a loved one, it might be the loss of a relationship, it might be the loss of a way of being, it might be the loss of mobility, it might be the loss of finances or a particular level of lifestyle, it could be the loss of anything that was there that's no longer there. Okay, so it's not necessarily an actual person or an animal that has left your life, that has passed away, so to say, or left you for some reason. So, and you don't want to trivialise that loss either. You don't want to be, oh no, I didn't lose anybody. I just kind of, I lost my job, but it's real. I'm really struggling to deal with this, and that's a thing, okay. And it's not to be trivialised, because there's probably many layers underneath that. It feels very similar to many of the other losses you've experienced in your life that you haven't actually dealt with yet. Okay, so it's worth looking at, and it's definitely not trivial. So have a look at your loss and find out what's going on. So we do have the five stages of loss that they talk about, the therapists talk about, and these are definitely the stages that you would go through. But as I'm saying, that you don't go through in a particular order, and you definitely don't go through systematically from beginning to end and then get over it. Okay, you can switch and change and jump around all over the place. Okay, the first one that you usually deal with or usually are confronted with is denial. Okay, so you're like, oh, this can't possibly be happening. Did that really happen? Like, has that person really gone? Or did that person really do that to me? Or have I really lost my job? Has my dog really died? That sort of thing. So trying to sort of hold on to what was and not really accepting at all that it's even happened. So that's the denial stage. And that is a survival mechanism, okay? So that's from when you're a little person, and possibly in past lives as well. You're like, well, let's just pretend it hasn't happened, so then I don't need to deal with it, okay? So it's a survival mechanism. It's a way of protecting yourself from actually dealing with what's actually happened, okay? So there's lots and lots of programs and layers in there that you can work through in the Ho'oponopono course. And I teach you how to do that on your own. You don't need to share it with other people. If you don't want to share it with other people, you can if you like. And then of course you have the anger. You're like, okay, yeah, this has actually happened to me. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that's happened to me. But I can now, like it's happened to me, and I'm really angry about it. Okay, and that anger can come out in so many different ways. You can have frustration, you can have, blaming other people, all that sort of stuff can start to come out. The self-anger, you can, and the self-punishment and all of that can start to come out as well. And of course the anger has many layers, and it's all self-anger that's projected out onto other people. So that can be quite a process of going through those levels. But it's definitely worth doing, because grief is always the same for you. It's going to feel the same every time you lose something. You're going to have the same sets of emotions. You're going to go back. You're going to revisit those same programs that you haven't dealt with yet. So if you deal with them, the next grief can be a lot less painful, a lot less traumatizing, and a lot less long and painful. Okay, so you can work on that anger as it's happening. Now, when the anger you feel like the anger is just not allowed to surface, okay? And I've done some other videos on anger and the importance of allowing anger to come to the surface. But if you start to try to push that anger back down and crush it and suppress it and pretend that it's not there, what will happen is you get to the stage of depression, okay? Grief and loss it often is met with depression. Depression is just repressed anger. It's just, you know what, I don't feel like I have permission to be angry. I don't feel like it's safe for me to be angry. I don't know how to deal with my anger, so I am just going to go and get depressed, okay? And depression is just a lingering, it's just the holding of that anger. It's like it's seething under the surface and you're not really dealing with it. You're actually just making it sit there. And of course that's having a massive effect on your physical, mental and emotional health, okay? When you're depressed, you don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like getting out and exercising. You don't eat properly. All of those things start to happen, and that of course has negative repercussions on yourself as well. And then, sorry, for a second there, I've lost the, I actually got it written down somewhere. Bargaining, okay, bargaining. It's like, oh, can't we just pretend that didn't happen? Can't we just, can't we just make up? Can't we just, if it's a relationship, can't we just hold on to the memories for longer so that we don't need to deal with it, or can't we turn it around so that I can't feel it, so it's not happening. So again, that's a survival mechanism, and that's something that you've developed over the years. So that bargaining is something you've developed to try to divert you from dealing with the grief, okay, which is the anger, the depression, okay, the dealing with the reality of it. And it's basically a feeling of rejection. It's a feeling of being alone. It's a feeling of like you don't belong. It's a feeling like you're no longer loved because of the loss. You've lost something. Something has left you. Okay, whether it's a human being has died or an animal has died, or or you've lost a job, or you've lost money, or you've lost a house, or something like that. Maybe your house burnt down. That's a grief. Okay, it's a loss. So something that was there is no longer there. Something that made you feel safe, something that made you feel like you belong, something that made you feel special, is no longer there. Okay, so and it's bringing up those feelings of I don't belong, I'm not lovable, I'm not loved, I'm not safe. All of those feelings are going to start to come up. So in the Ho'oponopono, we can actually find that data. We can actually find those deeper feelings, and you can do it on your own. You don't have to share it with anyone else. And then you can actually shift that. Okay, you can shift those feelings so that next time you experience a loss, the grief is not anywhere near as dramatic. It's nowhere near as horrific for yourself, and it's nowhere near as long and painful, because you're able to actually shift through it a lot quicker, okay, because your issues around, you're right, your issues around loss have minimised, okay, they're nowhere near as painful. I'm not saying that the next time you lose something or somebody, you're not going to experience a feeling of loss and grief. Of course you will. But you'll be able to shift yourself through them a lot quicker. One, you'll have the technique of Ho'oponopono, so you can nip anything in the butt as it comes up, as it surfaces. And two, you may have actually dealt with a lot of those feelings of I'm not loved anymore, I don't belong anymore, I've been rejected. You may have already dealt with those in previous work that you've done. So the next one might not feel so bad. Okay, and then of course there's the acceptance, which is at the very end. But as I said, you can keep shifting and changing around the five different stages, because it's not a straight line. Okay, and that's probably one of the first things that you'll need to deal with, the fact that you can't predict it, that there is no control. So that could be one of your programs. I have no control. I can't control this. I can't predict what's going to happen next. I feel unsafe because I don't know what's going to happen. Grief is one of those things where you do not have any control, okay? But what I'm saying is you can actually proactively work through your grief as it comes up, okay? As each element comes up, you can just grab it and use it and move it on and shift it as it happens. And then what will happen is it'll start to calm down, okay? It'll start to become less of an issue. So that's a pretty big and deep and meaningful kind of a subject. Grief and loss is a really big deal, and you're more than welcome to message me and tell me what it is that you're dealing with. If you want to get a few pointers, a few ideas on what it is that you first might need to be working on, or how the Ho'oponopono course might be able to benefit you. You can go online to humanhappiness.com.au, sign up for the course. You can read more about the course, find out what it might do for yourself. highly recommend that you sign up for the next one. There's always one coming up, a retreat coming up. They're generally 2 days long because we've got a fair bit of stuff to get through. And as I said, you can work on these things in your own personal space. You don't need to share things with anybody else. You can just come and absorb what's going on, learn the techniques, get all of the data analysis techniques and all the ways, the simple technique on how to do Ho'oponopono and do it in your own time at your own pace. And it is very simple. It's designed to be a really simple and easy way to deal with everything that you're dealing with in your life. So stay well and message me if you like, and until I meet with you, all the best and bye for now. Oh no, did that stop? Crap, I think we've lost it.